So, a lot of people said that I was absolutely mad to buy Abel's Ark without getting a hull survey. And I've got to say, now that I've had a closer look at the hull, I'm starting to think they might have been right. Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from sortofinteresting.com, and today you are joining me on board good old narrowboat Abel's Ark for another one of my vlog series from the little boat trip that I did a couple of weeks ago. Today we're going to move up from St Martin's, just above the Newmarton Locks, go up to by the Poacher's Pocket, just on the edge of Chirkbank, where the Chirk Aqueduct and Chirk Tunnel are. And, well, we're just going to enjoy some sights and sounds and thoughts from being out and about on the canal. Got loads of beautiful footage of boating and walking and just the countryside and canal in general. I hope you enjoy what we've got lined up. Yeah, I suppose that's enough. Let's get stuck in. Oh no, first, actually, we're going to start with a very quick spot the difference competition with these opening clips. Right, now let's get stuck in. So here is clip one as we are setting off from St Martin's. As you can see, another beautiful day. And here is clip two. Now what's the difference? Yes, once again I had forgotten, after I'd pushed away from the side, to take the chimney down, which could have been some fun when I met the first bridge and possibly left my chimney behind somewhere at the bottom of the canal there. So as we travel upstream here towards Chirkbank, you can see, as I've said so many times in recent videos, just what an absolutely beautiful day it was. And as we look up into the sky in this clip here, it doesn't get much better than this for boating. It can get extraordinarily warm, in fact, when you just stood there still on the stern and you've got nothing else to do but stand there. But my goodness me, I'd certainly rather be standing there in these conditions than in driving rain or hailstones or snow. I literally... there's a video, I'll see if I can find it and put it in the link in the description, but I literally, when I was on Narrowboat Tilly, did this exact trip from where we set out pretty much up to the Lion Quays, which is a big hotel and restaurant and all sorts of stuff that we'll pass in just a second. And I did that not only with snow on the ground, but with it actually still snowing, as part of the most mad commute to work that I've ever done, which started with an early morning boat ride, followed by me then cycling down a snowy towpath, which was extraordinarily slippy, and then up a road to my friend's house, and then getting a lift off them into Oswestry for work. Oh man, good times. I'd completely forgotten about that until now, so I apologise about my excited interruption there. Now, I wanted to throw this little clip in here so you can see we're looking down the side of the boat here to line up as we go through the bridge. But on our left-hand side, these trees have made it impossible to properly really line up exactly where we are and see exactly how far away we are from the edge of the bridge on the left-hand side. So once you're going in through the bridge, obviously because you're steering and moving the back of the boat rather than steering from the front like in a car, it's not until you get the front of the boat out of the bridge that I could then clearly move away from that one side, as I'd left far too much room on the right hand side, which some people may have picked up on. And if you're not familiar with boats and how narrow these bridges, you may have looked at that and thought, oh, plenty of room. But sadly, all of that room came at the cost of space on the other side. Anyway, that might not have made any sense whatsoever. So the great thing about these sort of little boat trips, when you haven't got a specific mooring spot, like you're not thinking like how it was when I was on Narrowboat Tilly, where I'd potentially be mooring somewhere for a week or so at a time that I had to think about travelling to and from work from. With this trip that I did, that was just all about spending a couple of weeks out on the canal, revisiting all of these classic places that I used to moor up with Narrowboat Tilly, I didn't have too much concerns. It wasn't like I was setting out thinking, oh, I hope that there's no boats moored up here, oh, I hope there's space. If there wasn't room, then I could just carry on and tootle along, and in a future video you'll see me give up a boat trip after about 15 minutes or so travel and just, well, mooring up for an hour or so, but we'll get to that in the future. This is the Lion Quays, this is the hotel part, all the rooms that you're seeing with the balconies there, and then you can see just past them we've got all of the jetties, and it's amazing really, because we're travelling sort of in the mid to late morning here, how all of the boats have all sort of set off and tootled along off on their travels, and all the holiday boats are going off to various destinations. Whereas if you come back to these spots at, say, 8 o'clock in the evening, when all the boats have settled for the night, depending on the time of the week and the ebb and flow of the holiday traffic, you could potentially sometimes see maybe 10 boats where in the daytime there were none whatsoever, and maybe more in places like Ellesmere, where you can get boats just hundreds and hundreds of feet of bow to stern boats moored up on the edge of the canal. I just want to say as well, I decided to not use any of my GoPro footage for this boat trip video section of the video, as I first of all wanted to use the simple phone camera in my hand to be able to do these down the side of the boat checks and looking around so that you could see what the actual view from the stern is like. I'll probably use the GoPro footage at some point to do a real-time boating video where it is literally just the boat trip as it happened in real time as a big, long, unbroken video. You may have seen the recent return of that series to the channel. I started it on Narrowboat Tilly many years ago and somewhat spoilt it when I didn't have a boat. But anyway, it's back after a few years of hiatus. So here we are at the actual point where I used to moor up Tilly for the winter, just to the right hand side here. Plenty of space to moor, so we're going to head to that big tree ahead of us, turn around in the turning point and moor up. Well, my friends, here we are, just round the corner from Chirkbank, just down the road from Western Rin, that's just up over the hill where my friends used to live, that I always used to go and bother when I'd be spending my winters moored up. Just on that end, just as the curve goes into those bushes towards the centre of the screen there. Flipping heck. Well, my friends, I thought I would never ever be back. And here we are with this little beast. Oh, fantastic. I was intending to moor up on the exact stretch, but because it's got that curve to it, obviously with Tilly only being 30 foot, you could get away with mooring up on some of the more bendy bits of the canal side, whereas here you would have this sort of a gap between obviously the rear of the boat touching the side, the bank curving away from the boat, and then the bow touching the side. So I thought we'll just back ourselves up a little bit and more on this little straight stretch. Right. Well, as it's taken me the usual 3 hours to tie the ropes, I suppose I better get down to business. My friends, I honestly cannot explain to you how sort of all of a sudden overcome I have been with sort of thinking about the old days and mooring up here and looking out over these fields on Narrowboat Tilly. I don't know, I just sat down after mooring up and had that sort of moment where it's like, I can finally properly relax now, the trip's all done. And then it's like, flipping heck, I remember all of the many months I spent here moored up on my winter moorings over the years gone by, going up and down the hill to my friend's house. They were grand times indeed. Okay, my friends, here's a little moment of boat life for you. So we're sat at my desk, and just for anybody who's ever been curious as to editing and just the general environment, obviously we can plug ourselves in, so we've got full power coming from the leisure batteries and that for all our gizmos and gadgets. Here I'm editing down about an hour's worth of GoPro footage from a boat trip the other day, which you'll probably have seen as part of a much bigger video. This current clip is 3 minutes 33 seconds, and this is what the real sort of fun and games of trying to edit and sort these videos out is, that I've got literally hours and hours of GoPro footage like this to sort through. I've got 2 separate 1 terabyte hard drives that have got GoPro footage. I've got footage from my phone and all sorts of stuff. The other day I had to make space on my phone as I'd filled it up, and there were over 1,000 video clips just taken on my phone. So you can imagine it's trying to keep track of it all and then trying to do these sort of half an hour long plus videos. where you've got potentially hundreds, or at the very least dozens upon dozens of video clips, including, for example, the current one that I'm working on. This is, as I say, all sorts of stuff just for the boat trip section, or a boat trip section of the video. And I mean, things like this 36-second long section there, I think that's 20 times actual boating speed. As you can see, very quick there. And so that's about a quarter of an hour's worth of footage just there in that 30 seconds. But, well, trying to keep track of all this and figuring out, and as I say, like, this little section here is only part of a much bigger video that will be maybe half an hour plus. But this is what the beauty of it is. That no matter what sort of fun and games are going on here, if I turn my head and look through the window, that's the scenery that we've got to sit down and edit. And so by the early evening, I couldn't resist going out for a walk down the canal to Chirk to just get a few bits and bobs, really. My nan and grandad were coming round later on in the evening, so thought I'll just nip down and get some snacks just in case. And as you can see here, we passed a little canal boat dog there, and, well, here we're passing by the entrance to the Poacher's Pocket, the pub, only known as the Poacher's these days. Very cool. But this is one of the bridges. I used to moor up even closer to the Poacher's Pocket than just around the corner where the turning point was. And used to literally have this bridge in sight when I'd moor up at some points during the winters. And again, so many times I've walked up and down, biked up and down over this sort of stretch, and done this walk to get supplies from the little shops in Chirk. It's mad. Once upon a time, you're going to see me walk down the canal over the aqueduct and stuff, and once upon a time, really late at night, well, I say really late, probably like 9:30 at night, in the winter, I actually fetched 40 kilograms of coal on a little sack truck in a plastic tub, all the way from Chirk, right the way down to Chirk Bank here. And again, it was absolutely ludicrous, and the sheer weight on the little sack truck thing that was never made to take that much weight. The wheels had stones ground into them. Just madness when I think back. I mean, there's so many just silly little moments where it was just a case of, yeah, go on, what's the worst that can happen? I get there and I'm like, should I get one bag? We'll go for 2 bags. And literally, like I say, I had to fetch that. Good times, very good times. You can see here at Chirk Bank, the canal is not only very narrow with these concrete sides, but there's also boats moored up all over the place here. Again, what I was saying about during the evenings, at the end of the day, you get a lot of boats obviously stopping for the night. So suddenly it goes from empty canal sides to boats appearing and tying up all over the place. Sometimes it's very interesting to see where people all moor up. They can find places to moor up that you would never consider placing a boat, I'll say that much. Equally, here you can see, this is, again, one of the reasons that I absolutely love this area. You've got stuff like this, the viaduct there that carries the trains across, stood mightily over the canals as a relic from the past. It's fascinating. I'm sure it's the Orient Express or the Flying Scotsman. I've seen one very nice looking boat go over there. I'll have to look it up, see if I've got any photos of it. And that's something fascinating, to be on here going over on a boat and then see like a modern day diesel train just charge across over the bridge just above you. As we're walking now down into Chirk itself, you can see, absolutely love this, the Sacred Heart Roman Catholic Church. Just another beautiful building. Just there's so much of this sort of stuff in the villages out and about in this sort of area, and it's again something that I absolutely love. So another little church tower. What was the time? Let's have a look. I'm sure I zoom in at some point here. Yep. Coming up to 5 o'clock. Not as late in the evening as I'd anticipated. And because I'd taken too long to get there because of all the filming, I then decided to follow the main road around, and we're basically moored up about maybe 600 or 700 feet from that house we zoomed into there. You can see me, nan and grandad walking down the towpath away a little bit later on in the evening again. And here's our feathered friends swimming around, causing a disturbance. Lovely stuff. Once again, later on, my inability to sit still for more than 2 seconds, especially coupled with somewhere so full of nostalgia and memories as the Poacher's Pocket and the Kirkbank area, I decided to set out and have a quick walk up the hill to Western Rin, and just to go past my friend's house, which actually was completely empty at the time. So again, almost a very sad moment, as there's nobody living in their house at all at this particular moment that I passed. And yeah, it's amazing to think of how lives change and time goes on, and again, the impermanence of things, I suppose, that this literally was once my life for 5 months of the year. I'd be moored up here and move between here and filling up with water down at St Martin's and pay for me winter mooring, and then walk up the hill or cycle up the hill to my friend's house here when they lived in Western Rin. That's not my friend's house. Sadly, I don't think I know anybody who could claim that as a house. Maybe one or two. But again, here's the roundabout. You've got the top shop just behind us, the church, and again, Western Rin, a place so full of memories. And long before I ever had any idea of having a narrowboat, I was going up and down the road on my bike and walking to go to my friend's house, sometimes day after day during the week, and I'd be putting in like miles and miles cycling and walking there, and then we'd all go off down the canal. Oh, just wanted to throw this clip in here. This is a shower pump in action on a holiday boat. So someone's in the shower on that boat, and the pump is pumping the water out from beneath their feet as they go. And yeah, I don't know, it's just a nostalgic, very, very reflective time. And yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'd walk all the way like 5 miles out to Western Rin, and then we'd then walk down from there to maybe Kirkbank or Chirk and back, or maybe further, and I'd end up walking these huge distances, like crazy times, and then still have to walk back to my house another 5 miles. It's alright for them, they'd get home and that was it. Anyway, here we are the following day, heading out to Charlie's Garden Centre at Welshpool. I just thought I'd throw this in, just a random moment. As I say, boat life is just normal life that floats, so I had the opportunity to come out here and have a nose, and really I wanted to go to this shop, the Country Store next door, and it's just a great place. It's the sort of place that, as you saw, sells fluorescent horse jackets and shooting targets, and it has like a display of chainsaws and all sorts of country clothing that you may be familiar. I like my earthy coloured clothing, and so yeah, I took the opportunity to get out there, and I'm always a big fan of having the nose out there, because there's always something interesting, like bows and arrows and stuff for sale, and paddle boards. I was very interested, very curious there. I've seen somebody going past the boat on one, and I saw one for sale at the garden centre. I thought, that's interesting, that's got potential and possibility. So, catching up to speed with what's going on here, so I'm sure you can probably gather we are on a bike and I am heading into town. Not sure whether this was the following day again, or even the evening of the trip out to the garden centre. We're cutting through Western Rin here. This is coming up to that roundabout we're at, with the top shop and the currently closed pub at the moment. And I knew no matter what, I had to do this bike ride down the country lanes past Old Osprey Hill Fort. And the reason is because this is the route, this is the road that I've cycled and walked more than any other anywhere in my life. As I say, I used to go out to my friends down this long before I had a boat, and then obviously once I had the boat, spending up to 5 months a year moored up at the Poacher's Pocket and Kirkbank, I was obviously going in and out of town to work down this in all sorts of weather conditions I can't explain to you. I've literally fallen off my bike down these roads in ice, in all sorts of just crazy conditions. Oh yeah, I forgot about that clip that I put in there, sorry. Yeah, just again to prove this sort of rural nature of this area. When you find that the majority of the traffic you meet on a road like this is 2 horses blocking your way, you know that you're in the countryside. So here we are. This is another famous little bit of this road, the little dip, the little valley as I call it, where you get great speed going down one side of it, then it evens out for just these few, I don't know, maybe 200 feet or so, and then it goes uphill again steeply, enough that I cut the uphill section of the video out because the bike's wobbling from side to side too much even for the GoPro to stabilise. And then here we are finally in Oswestry. And what am I coming into Oswestry for? Well, to visit those friends I was just talking about for... Well, my friends, if this is not the dream right here, I don't know what is. Bike, check. Pizza, check. Right, let's go a bit further. Want to know something very embarrassing? Well, I realised after I had all of that pizza left over that I didn't actually have a oven connected to any gas on the boat apart from a little camping stove at the time, so I couldn't actually warm the pizza up on board, and obviously I couldn't bike very far with that pizza all in its box, so at about 10:30 I had to phone my mum and say, is the door unlocked? Can you unlock it so I can just leave a pizza here overnight, please? And yeah, after that, I then bumped into some of my friends going through town too, and pedalled out to, well, a nice, very rural, empty, dark set of country lanes. Right, more boating in videos to come. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this little video and enjoyed the sights and sounds of revisiting some of my favourite, most moored up and most lived on sections of the Llangollen Canal from years gone by on Narrowboat Tilly. It was fantastic to go out there and revisit, and especially to stop around by the Poacher's Pocket. Just amazing memories, to be honest, and very nostalgic. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free, if you'd like to help me out and you're curious about boat life, to check out my short boat life books available for the Kindle, and also a paperback which contains a few of the shorter Kindle books all in one handy volume, available on Amazon, links in the description, or visit narrowboatbooks.com to go straight to my Amazon page. Feel free, of course, to subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell button and all that sort of stuff. There's also hundreds of videos from my life on board Narrowboat Tilly if you're curious and would like to go back in time and look at how my first steps into boat life and where it all began, I suppose. And of course, feel free to add me on things like Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram and all that sort of stuff. Loads of links in the description below. But until the next time, my friends, all I really want to say is thank you so much for tuning in. As always, keep it boat worthy, keep it interesting, and of course, farewell, and have a fantastic day. Forgot that one. Right, see ya. Oh, it's always the same. Oh, man alive. Just say them in the right order. Ah.